the concept of Virat is, as I said, Krishna showed his full form before Arjuna towards the end of Bhagavad Gita. And that means it's basically multidimensional. You have a variety of roles in life, and these variety of roles which you need to perform together constitute your Virat existence. And of course, to be a full person, you have to play a role in all that. So a Virat Hindu is someone who knows what being a Hindu is.
Namaste and good evening to all the viewers. A very warm welcome for the fourth online interactive session, Samvada, brought to you by Virat Hindustan Sangam, Karnataka. We at VHS Karnataka organized a temple series. In our first episode, we had Srimati Lakshmi Bai, who spoke on significance of Hindu temples. In our second episode, we had Sri Kiran Betadapur, who spoke on Hindu temple architecture, the epitome of sublime devotion. And in our third episode, we had T.R. Ramesh, who spoke on our temples, our growth. And today, we have a very special episode with Dr. Swamy, who needs no introduction and who will speak on what makes a real Hindu and a Virat Hindustan, which is a very significant in today's context. Honestly, we at Karnataka VHS are indeed very happy and delighted to have him address on our platform. I also take this opportunity to mention that Samvada will be organized every Friday, same time at 8 p.m. 3 Fridays of the month, we'll have speakers from Karnataka who speak on topics in line with our 5 principles of VHS. And on one Friday of the month, we'll have a national speaker who will again speak on the 5 principles of VHS. VHS Karnataka has a huge enrollment of youngsters who are ardent fans and followers of Dr. Swamy. It is these youngsters who are the future of our tomorrow. As Dr. Swamy has always said, we need to build and nurture Virats for the better future of our blessed nation, Bharat. VHS truly believes in delegating. Let me again reiterate, it believes in delegating and producing future leaders and Virats of tomorrow. And now I would like to mention that I'm joined by Sri Jagdish Shetty ji and Gopinath ji in this program. I will now pass on to Sri Jagdish Shetty ji, our National General Secretary in charge of Karnataka, who will then start our online program with Dr. Swamy. Over to Sri Jagdish Shetty ji. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nikunj. It is a great pleasure, and I thank the Karnataka unit of Virat Hindustan Sangam led by Nikunj Shah and also his team members for organizing this Samvada program for the benefit of our members and viewers in Karnataka. And as he mentioned, Nikunsha mentioned, they have been having interactions and getting speakers to and other interesting topics for which VHS has been campaigning for under Dr. Swamy's leadership. VHS was formed in mid-September 2014 to champion 5 basic principles for which VHS stood for or stands for. That is, who am I? What is the identity of a true Indian? Number 2, rewriting of the correct Indian history. Third, promoting Sanskrit as a link language. Fourth is integral humanism as an economic concept. And the fifth is good governance or Ram Rajya. These are the 5 issues for which Dr. Swamy and Virat Hindustan Sangam members have been campaigning. And this is to educate and empower. This is not a political organization, but to educate and empower is our goal. So part of this series, we have at a national level words of wisdom, Gyan Ganga. Then in some states like Maharashtra, we have Virat Abhyasika programs on every Thursday. And Karnataka has been having this Samvada, that is dialogue. In fact, I'm sure Dr. Swamy will tell us that the basis of Hindu civilization and what our monks and gurus have been doing in the past is winning over opponents by dialogue or by debate. So that is the parampara we are also following of spreading the message. So Karnataka unit is appropriately named its platform as Samvada. So I thank the team led by Nikunsha in Karnataka for doing these various activities online, offline, and regular meeting. It's a very young, dynamic team in Karnataka spread over all the regions of Karnataka. So I thank everybody and I will wish them all success and would request them to strengthen the organization at different city levels, district levels, and ensure that the message reaches each and every corner of Karnataka. So with these words, I would now request Dr. Swamy to initiate today's talk on this very interesting subject and enlighten our viewers and members on our point of view on this important subject. So with this, it is over to Dr. Swamy.
Okay. Thank you, Jagdish, and thank you, Nikunj and Gopi. And I think Tejas is hiding in the background. All of you have come together and given me this opportunity to speak on this very, very interesting topic. There are 2 parts to the topic. First part is who's a real Hindu, and the second is what is a Virat Hindustan mean. So everybody knows what a Hindu is, and everybody knows what Hindustan is. But why the question is important is because we are asking what a real Hindu is. And Virat Hindustan, that is Virat, which is colossal, multidimensional, everywhere where its influence are. That is the meaning of the word Virat. So when Krishna appeared before Arjuna in his true form, it was called the Virata Rupa. So the question therefore is, we want Hindus not just to be Hindus. We want them to know why they are Hindus and why is it something that needs to be propagated. Not necessarily to other religions, but to our own people, and in language which they understand. Similarly, the question of Virat Hindustan, Why? What is the mean? We are Constitution says we are Bharat, and what is this Hindustan? And why Virat? Why not just Hindustan? So these are the questions that in the layman's level it is there. So let me put this in a way where people know what it really means to be a Hindu, and that if you don't fit in those categories, then you can't be a Hindu in a real sense. Yeah, you can be. Anybody can be a Hindu. By the way, what is the definition of Hindu? One who says, I'm a Hindu. There's no ceremony. I mean, there were Arya Samajis created a Suddhikaran thing. Well, that's okay. I mean, we can't tell different branches of Hinduism how they should conduct themselves. But the fact is, at the core, you are a Hindu if you say I'm a Hindu. But then, what does it mean to be a Hindu when you say, as what the topic says, real Hindu? That Hindu is what I'm going to put across to you. What is it that you must know to say that I'm a real Hindu? So the first thing you must know is, you know, it's not necessary for as a Hindu to have read every part of Rig Veda or Samaveda or Atharva Veda. Or it's not necessary. That is if you want to become a scholar. But you must know the distinction between Shruti and Smriti. Shruti is God-given knowledge. So Vedas are a God-given knowledge. God dictated it to the rishis, and they memorized it, and then they kept on repeating it. We didn't have it in written form for many centuries, but in the end, the process of getting it written is also has been completed. So whatever God says is in the Rig Veda, and it's largely philosophical. In fact, I should say in the Vedas, because the Vedas are of 4 parts. So therefore, this you cannot amend. You cannot say, no, now it's out of date. In fact, nothing is out of date in that. It's God-given, and somehow it has that dynamism that it fits in with every century, every decade, etc. So Shruti is like Vedas, like Upanishads. These are God-given things, and you can't amend it. There is Smriti, which is made by rishis for the conduct of the society. And that is, for example, Manu. He brought in a code, and that code tells you how everybody should behave. How a son should behave to father, mother, and daughter should behave to father, mother. How brothers and sisters should behave to each other. All these are there in the Manu Smriti. Smriti means remembering. So therefore, the dictum there is that Smriti can be amended. Smriti can be replaced. So Manu Smriti has been replaced. By whom? By Yajnavalkya. So there's a Yajnavalkya Smriti. Then there's a Mitakshara Smriti from Bengal. That created the 3rd Smriti. Now people say the Constitution of India is the Smriti. Everything that you need to know for your behavior is there in the Constitution. And the Constitution, in my opinion, people say we should have a Hindu Constitution. Why? This is a Hindu Constitution. What is there about Hinduism which is not there in the Constitution? Sanskrit should be made into, Sanskrit should be promoted. That's there in the Constitution. Hindi in the beginning, but its words should be from Sanskrit. That's in the Constitution. Then it says that all religions lead to God. That is only Hinduism. Islam doesn't say so. Christianity doesn't say so. So therefore, these major religions which are converting type, they don't say that. They say our way or the highway. Hindus don't say that. There are many paths to God. You can choose which you want. You can be an Advaita. You can be a Arya Samaji. You can be a Sanatana Dharmi. So Hindus have many, and we don't have one God. We don't have one book. We don't have one equivalent of a masjid, Makkah, or something like that, or a church. We are people who are based on books, partly given by God, partly developed by us. There is no other religion in the world which works on this principle. It's the most sophisticated way of preaching religion. In the books, these parts you can't touch, and nobody has been able to even suggest that there should be a amendment. But these are codes of behavior, which most religions are nothing but codes of behavior. These you can amend. What Manu said is no more applicable. So when people say Manuvadi and all that, mad people. We Hindus ourselves have replaced it by Yajnavalkya and then Mitakshara, and now we say Constitution is good enough. Constitution defines a Hindu. Interestingly, if you go to Article 25 and see the explanation, Hindu includes Buddhists, Jains, and Sikhs. And none of those have objected. No Buddhists have objected to it. It's there in the Constitution. It is Dr. Ambedkar who moved the amendment and introduced it. So this is what we say. These are India-bound religions. They are in a separate category from others. They don't believe in any extensive conversion. None of them do. You can become, if you want to become. Today I want to become a Hindu. You don't have to go to any pujari. Just say, I am a Hindu. I was a Christian, but now I am a Hindu. You are a Hindu. So therefore, you must please understand that this is one of the things you must know. There's nothing special about being a Hindu. You can be anybody can be a Hindu. But you become special if you can propagate the logic behind Hinduism in such a way that people have no answer from other religions. Or there are people who say, well, I didn't know all this. I'm very proud of it. Now I am a real Hindu. So this is the first aspect, that a Hindu must know what is the content. He doesn't have to read it. Somebody has to educate them. Between the Shruti literature or the Shruti, our holy books, and the Smriti. And what do they say? And what is it that is necessary for our day-to-day functioning? Number one. So if you want to be a real Hindu, you must know this. If you don't know, then you can't be a real Hindu. You'll be a Hindu. Anybody is a Hindu if he says he's a Hindu. Second would be that, in fact, I would say the first I had said that a person is Hindu if he says he's a Hindu. And he says, I believe in the belief system. That's the first. The real Hindu requires some more qualifications. First, he must know Shruti and Smriti, what is their content and why are they separate. Then you come to the question of how do I get the basic principles without having to go on and read it. There the Bhagavad Gita comes. It's an unimaginable compilation. This compilation of Bhagavad Gita. There's no end. I've been reading it I'm now going to be 82 this September. I can tell you, I've been reading it since the age of 22, 23, 24. And every time I discover something new. It's an incredible. You don't need a teacher. You just don't go fast. You just read one shloka per day. And there are so many shlokas. There are 18 chapters and so on. So there must be easily 500, 600 shlokas in it. So therefore, Bhagavad Gita has the answers to most of your questions, most of the people's questions. So we come to that, and then with that, with this factor that Bhagavad Gita is the third aspect. Bhagavad Gita is not part of either Shruti or Smriti. It's a conversation between a Lord, that is a God, Krishna, who came as an avatar. He was actually avatar of Vishnu, and a warrior, a human being, not godly, but a human being, a very brave man called Arjuna. And Arjuna suddenly develops a complex. Why am I killing my relatives to get what? And then he educates them. Morality, duty, so many things. It's all there. I'll go over it in a brief while. Now, in the Gita, the Lord says something which now you must know, because it's so distorted today that it is distorted by the British. It was distorted in order to divide our society, and that is the concept of Varna. It's there in the Gita. If you go to chapter 4 of the Gita and read Shloka 13, let me see if I can locate it and read it to you. What he tells Arjuna, Krishna, is the fourfold grouping of people, a division based on duties and qualities, was created by me. That is, Krishna says me. Me means God. Even though I am its author, know me to be a non-doer, even changeless. That is, he say, I may be an author, but this is not. I am so omnipresent that this is this. Don't treat me as an author. I'm multidimensional. So this is what he says in chapter 4, shloka 13. Now you look at chapter 18, which is the last chapter. There he says the duties of the four: Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, Sudras. Not born. Vishwamitra was born in a Kshatriya family. His father and mother were Kshatriyas. He became a Maharishi. Vedavyasa was born to a fisherwoman. He became a Maharishi. Kalidasa was a Vanavasi. He was used to cut branches of trees to sell it. He became the greatest poet India has produced. And of course, a Maharishi. Valmiki, there's a dispute on it, but large numbers of people say he came from a Dalit family. He was in fact a dacoit. He was a robber. But then suddenly Ram descended on him. I mean, the vision of Ram, and he became a Maharishi, wrote the Ramayana. The most authentic Ramayana is written by Valmiki, and he is considered a Maharishi. So there's nothing to do with your birth. This Varna being part of the birth is the most nonsensical, non-existent concept in Hinduism. It's not a part of Hinduism, it's never. And Krishna says very clearly, duties of Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas, and Sudras. Arjuna, the scorcher of foes, are divided according to their qualities, born of Swabhava. That is, Swabhava means your nature. And Ishvara is Maya, and one's nature is one's karma. So it is very clear. It's got nothing to do with birth. And I've given you examples. So when people say, I'm a Brahmin, and he's working as director in Bata Shoe Company, that's not a Brahmin. A Brahmin is a Jnani, a Tyagi, and Nirbhai. 3 qualities. So if you are a Darpok, you can't be a Brahmin. If you are a semi-literate, you are only interested in money, you can't be a Brahmin. So therefore, the qualities of a Brahmin are what you acquire. You can be born in any family, you can become a Brahmin. We have to go back to that. It's not easy to go back to that because it's got so crusted. And people have, they are so proud of being Brahmins without being Brahmins. So that is one of the things that I want to emphasize. If you're a real Hindu, you'll consider yourself as a Hindu. And people should know by your actions that you are a Brahmin. If you are Jnani, Tyagi and Nirbhay, you are a Brahmin. If you are a fellow who will stand up for the country and fight and, defend the country, you are a Kshatriya. If you make money for society and yourself without being greedy, then you are a Vaishya. If you work on the field, you are a Shudra. Your children can be Brahmins, they can be Kshatriyas, they can be anything. So, we are Hindus in the overall, that's the overall carry. All these other little details. There is something called Jati. But Jati, which is based on blood, is to prevent you from marrying your own blood groups. Because then there will be, if brothers and sisters marry and produce children, they'll all be Mongoloid idiots. The pharaohs of Egypt wanted to save their money, their wealth. So they decided, why you should marry some other family's girl? We'll marry brothers and sisters. And the pharaohs disappeared. They all became mentally retarded, morons, etc. And that was the end of that thing. So for preventing that, you can't marry your mother's uncle or your father's brother. All kinds of rules are there. That's only for genetics. That's Jati. The Westerners don't understand. Everything is caste. Okay, but there is Varna, which is your station in life. What are you doing? If you're a professor and you are a person who's not afraid, if you are a person who's a tyagi, in the sense you are living a simple life, I don't want them to do today what the old Brahmins used to go every Friday. They would go to the town and say, Bhikshama. So people will come and give. As if it's a great honor to give. They're not treated as beggars, but they beg. Those days, not can't be replicated today. It's such a different society in the sense of congregation and so on. Who's going to walk all stories of a building in Bombay? So, therefore, please, as a Hindu, always think of yourself as a Hindu. And if somebody asks you, what is your Varna? If they say caste, you say in English, you say, no, what do you mean by that? So sometimes, we all descend from particular Rishi. I received, my family, according to my mother, descended from Rishi Kashyapa, who created Kashmir. So that's why I often say Kashmir is mine, because I am Rishi Kashyapa's descendant. So Kashyap Gotra, or these Gotras are for whom you have descended from. But that's nothing, it's got nothing to do with Brahmin, Kshatriya, etc. So tomorrow, if a scheduled caste wants to be a Brahmin, he can be. I would say Ambedkar was a Brahmin. Every way he was a Brahmin. He was a Jnani, he was a Tyagi, and he was Nirbhay. Jawaharlal Nehru was not a Brahmin. I can mention other names, but I don't want their followers to feel bad. So I'm saying that these gunas must be there, otherwise you don't claim it. If you are a fighter, I want to fight, Kshatriya. And there's nothing, there's no up and down. Of course, because the Jnanis are also Tyagis, therefore society respects them. The king used to go to the hut of these Jnanis and Tyagis and ask for advice how to run the government. In the darbar, they will keep one chair for them. And they will be asked for an advice when there is a hot debate in the Rajya Sabha of the king. So, this is decentralization of power. Because two rishis decided on this Varna system, Bhrigu and Bhardwaja, and they said, how do we define society? He said, decentralized power. Then they identify 4 sources of power: knowledge, weapons, wealth, land. And they said these should be separate. And that's how this system was evolved. And if you have knowledge, you shouldn't have wealth. If you have weapons, then you can't make decisions. It has to be made by the Brahmins. You have to take their consultation and go by their advice. So this is, I'm giving you the basics of being a real Hindu. Just to say I believe in Diwali and I believe in other festivals. No. I put on a tikka and I go do bhajans. No. The real Hindu must recognize his station in life and what he wants to do for the society and by which medium he wants to do. Now, then the question becomes, just to actually say, what is it that Gita tells you? It says two things. And I'm telling you, you'll be mentally at peace if you accept this. It's very hard to accept it. But if these two are ingrained into your brain, you will be absolutely peaceful all your life. Never be unhappy. Why do all these people from America and Europe come to all our ashrams, sit here and do bhajans and all that? Because they say we've got a lot of wealth, but we have no happiness. How can you be happy? So there the question becomes, if your mind you recognize, and which is what Krishna says, and I'll give you a quotation also from the Gita, you have a right only to make decisions, action decisions. But you may work for a target, you may work for a fruit, but whether you will get the fruit or not, that I will decide, Krishna says to Arjuna. You are a Kshatriya, you have to go to war. Whether you will be dead or you will be alive, whether you will kill your enemies or your enemies will kill you, these I can't say. These are things which God decides, and therefore don't be attached. They don't say don't have an objective. I want to be the Prime Minister of India. It's an objective. But to be attached, my God, I'm a failure in life. No. Because if you are destined to be, you will be. If you are not destined to be, you will not be. So this is actually the American psychologists today say. What is stress due to? This constant fear, am I going to succeed? Am I going to succeed? So that feeling that I must get my goal, I started with this goal, I must get it, and the whole world must know. In my company, I'll get promotion only then. That is not Hindu. Hindu is, I'm going to do this. But whether I win or lose, I don't know. But I'm going to try this as my target. This is what I'll work for. So, therefore, the choice you have is only action. But the fruit of that, Krishna says in Sloka 47, chapter 2, well, I don't know if I want to take up more time, but 47 is the following. What Krishna says is, your choice, this is 47, starting with 47. Your choice is in action only, never in the results thereof. Do not think you are the author of the results of action. Even if you succeed, don't think you did it. What an attitude. And you won't be arrogant after that. Me, myself, some politicians are there. You won't be that. Then he goes on in the next shloka, remaining steadfast in yoga, Dhananjaya, that is Arjuna, perform actions abandoning attachment to results. Remain the same to success and failure. So this is the second part of that. Either you fail or succeed. You can be moderately happy if you succeed and moderately unhappy if you fail. But I have found in my life that when I was told I had failed, I had actually succeeded, because the consequences of that led me to something much better than I had before. Mrs. Gandhi sacked me from my full professorship. I became full professor at 28 or something, which nobody becomes. But I was already been offered a professor's rank at Harvard and left that to come. And so they had to give me professor. So made me a full professor in IIT. It's a very prestigious place. And then I became an extremely popular teacher because I taught them mathematically. And they were all engineering students. They knew calculus and all that. They're not like the usual Shakespearean economists in colleges. And they all then immediately, many of them got scholarships and then went to Harvard Business School, got degrees. And they always, whenever they had a chance to meet me, they used to tell me, you're teaching our mathematics, don't speak that. They were very popular. But I was anti-communist. I was anti-socialist. And Mrs. Gandhi didn't like it. And the communists who were infested, particularly next to IIT, there was JNU. All kinds of third-rate communists were taken there. They all felt I was a threat. And so I was warned, you lose it. At this young age, you got a full professorship. You got another 60, 40, 50 years to go. I got a huge provident fund when you retire. So I couldn't care less. I continued not in class, but in the evening, when I got invited by students to propagate that socialism doesn't work. You need market economy. Of course, you need a government to be an umpire, but you need this. So I was thrown out. I couldn't get a job anywhere. Everywhere I applied, they canceled the interviews at all. They said, no, we don't need this post. They returned the post back to UGC. Once somebody came all the way from Dibrugarh, and he said, my university is advertised for a professor's position. People are saying that you are likely to apply. Please don't apply. Because if you apply, neither you will get it nor I'll get it. So I gave him assurance, don't worry. For 2.5 years, I couldn't get anything. And I was wondering, should I go back to America? What is the signal I'm getting from the Almighty? And suddenly, out of the blue, Mr. Nanaji Deshmukh of Jansangh, General Secretary, very powerful man, he came to told me that the party wants you to go to Rajya Sabha. And my entire career changed. Of course, I won the court case also. I was given back my professorship after 22 years. I went for one day, became a professor, and then resigned, saying, I don't want to be with you people. Morarji Desai became Prime Minister, made me member of the Board of Governors, the very body which had sacked me. And I had the pleasure of making Morarji sack all of them, get new people. All this happened. Who could have predicted? So therefore, what is a good result or what a bad result is? What is a success? What is a failure? I have not yet been able to figure out. What is a success today may be a failure in the long run. What is a failure today may be a success in the long run. And this is what Krishna says. Remain steadfast and remain same to success and failure. This evenness of mind is called yoga. You want to be a good Hindu? Have this yoga. All right, I'm trying. This is my goal. If I don't succeed, I don't succeed. If I succeed, I'm not going to be elated. If I fail, I'm not going to be depressed. I'll go on to try something else. And then he says, those who perform, Krishna says in the next sloka, those who perform action only for results become misers and misery. So, I have seen people going to suicide, people ruining their families. Why? Because they didn't succeed. And that is succeed in one project. So, therefore, please be very clear in your mind. You work hard, you set a goal, try to achieve that goal. You get it, good. If you don't get it, you'll do something else. You'll maybe do better in another line, like I did. So this is the thing that Gita teaches you. These are not easy to get in Vedas or in Upanishads and all, because that's really meant for scholars. But the manual for human life, for you is Gita. And you have to learn it very slowly. You can't run through it. So, these be neutral. I mean, be as much neutral as possible between success and failure. Don't get elated when you succeed, and don't go to a bar and have a drink or something like that, which they do in the West. But be calm, smile a little. Same thing with depression. You say, okay, I'll try something else. Now, finally, the fifth point is, if everything is karma, which is what Krishna keeps saying, all your Purva Janma karma, which have not been exhausted, you have not suffered it, or you are not benefited by it, and this life's karma, these are the things that will decide your future. Of course, your efforts you make are new karmas, but ultimately the God has a account book. God is a big accountant. He'll all the time be looking how much karma in the minus side, how much in the plus side. So, then why pray? Pray to God, please, I must succeed in this. Why do you pray? If everything is karma, determined, Purva Janma and this Janma, then why are you praying? So, therefore, what you have to do is to understand that when you pray to God, that is also karma. That's there in the shloka. You can see, I'm running short of time, so I'm going to. Chapter 3, shloka 15 says very clearly that prayer is karma. So praying is also a additional factor in your success, because your success and failures are going to be determined by karma, and you don't know the calculus because you don't know your Purva Janma thing. Only God knows. That's why he says, if it's failure, don't get disappointed. Don't expect. Work for success, but don't be disappointed, because you don't know the karma calculus, as I would call it. How much is plus, how much is minus, and whether you are now due or not. So prayer is part of your karma. So these 5 things make you a real Hindu, plus one more thing which we took it for granted in the past, but is no more true today. And that is the treatment of women. We have always regarded them, men and women, as equal. There are occasions when women had to perform certain duties as dispassionately as any judge. And that was when Shankaracharya, what Adi Shankara did. This Adi Shankara, he felt that Buddhism was having a negative effect, particularly the Hinayana Buddhism, became very, very rigid and all that. So he wanted the Hindu religion to return. So he then said to all the gave a challenge. Anyone who has a debate on me whether the principles of Hinduism is superior, principles of Buddhism is superior, let's have a debate, and there will be an umpire. And if I lose, I will convert to Buddhism. And if I win, you will convert back to Hinduism. So on that, he started from Kerala and went all the way up to Kashmir. On the way, he passed through Bihar, where one of the most famous Buddhist scholars, Mandana Mishra, was there. So he went and challenged him. And he said that if I lose, I will become Buddhist and you're Chela. And if you lose, you become Hindu and do what I ask you to do. So he agreed. But he was Mandana Mishra was the greatest scholars of Uttara Mimamsa school. And this man is the greatest scholar at that period of Hinduism. Now, who will be the umpire? So Mandana Mishra, Shankaracharya suggested, your wife is a very learned person. Let her be the umpire. And they went on for days and days, this debate. In the end, the wife decided her husband had lost. And he converted to Hinduism and became the first Sringeri Acharya in Karnataka, your state. The Sringeri Acharya comes from Mandana Mishra. And Mandana Mishra was converted after he lost the debate to Adi Shankara. And that's how. So this is woman. You see, in our gods, most important portfolios are with women. Education is very important. Like Saraswati. Defense is very, very important. Durga. And finance is extremely important. Lakshmi. So somebody said, what about male gods? I said, only one I know is Narad Muni, who is information and broadcasting. So there no other portfolio has been given to anybody else. So women's importance was that. And with Islamic invasions, and then the British, women lost their positions. And now they are all coming back slowly. In fact, I'm seeing in competitive exams, they're all number one. Learn to treat them as your equal. And don't use your knowledge of your physical strength as anything but very base. Your real strength is your mental strength. In that, women and men are no different. And since the women nowadays are much more serious about education because this is the only chance they have, so they perform better. But men-women equality, which means if you're a true Hindu, you'll never ask for dowry, dahej, because that is a sin. It's un-Hindu. And it has ruined many families. And it has made people go in for this. In the old days, we didn't have arranged marriages. There was a Swamvara. Whoever wanted to marry came. And then there was some, the girl would go with a garland, and whoever she liked. I mean, all their biodata was given to the woman in advance. And then she went looking at each one of them and put it. Can you believe each of the ones who have been denied, how much they must be feeling? But that was a privilege of women. So I'm telling you, if you have associates who are women, treat them as much as equally as you can. And that is necessary for the revival of the Hindu society. Because you can't do it by 50% of the males doing for you. You need both. So therefore, I would, before I go to the other point of Virat Hindustan, which Jagdish has given already some hint, I'd like to understand these 5 points that you must have in your mind, that anyone can be a Hindu if he believes in the belief system. There's no conversion, nothing. 2, he must recognize the distinction between Shruti and Smriti and not propagate a Smriti which is out of date. So today, what will you propagate? The Constitution of India. So whatever the Constitution says are your rights, that is part of what Smriti is supposed to be, what you can do, what you can't do. So this is the second point. Third is that a real Hindu would know Gita thoroughly, because that is what tells you how to behave and what is the way without having tension. And fourth is the concept of Varna is not birth-based. We are all Hindus. And if somebody has a Varna which is different from yours, it means nothing. It means he preferred to be a soldier, so he went into the army. This man preferred to be a teacher, so he went into the teaching profession. That's a Brahmin. He went into agriculture. He's a Shudra. He went into business. He's a Vaishya. So, therefore, please remember, these are not rigid things. Yes, jati, as I told you, for marriage purposes is important, otherwise it's not important. Then the fourth point is, action is your only choice. Results, you can strive for it, but a number of variables, as they say in mathematics, goes into making the decision. Number of factors go into making the decision. Your karma is one of them. So, have faith in God and do your best. You'll get the result, but it is not certain that just because you did you did the best. I've done everything. I worked hard. I spent all my nights studying. Still, I failed. No, that doesn't matter. Get up again and start. Try again. So this is and the last is praying to God is adding to your good karmas. So pray. And if you want to go to temple and pray, you can pray at your home, you can pray anytime. But you should pray with your mind absolutely clear that you're not thinking of anything else. That prayer is a part of a real Hindu. So these 5 principles make you that. Now, and of course, the side I said, we as a good Hindu must behave differently with women than others are. I know I don't want to name the religion, but there are some religions where women are treated extremely bad, even though they may be highly educated. But we don't go into that. We want ours to be an example for everybody. And it's already been here and there. We got chief ministers, prime ministers, ambassadors, secretaries of government, all women. Nobody, in no other country it has this kind of representation even now. But it must be much more open. Women must be able to walk freely. Women should not be molested. All these society has to set as an example. Now, that brings me to Virat Hindustan. If all these 5 points are there, you are a Virat Hindu. And if all of you collect together in Hindustan, that is Virat Hindustan. But as Jagdish very correctly said, Virat usually means colossal, totality, undivided. It's a multifaceted word. But in our country, Hindustan was a very large area. We must now commit that it can't get any smaller. It can expand, but it cannot get smaller. For that, fight for every inch. When Jawaharlal Nehru told the parliament that why are we fighting over Aksai chain, not a blade of grass grows there. Just let it go. So Mahabir Tyagi was an MP, got up and said, in your head there's not a blade of grass, a blade of hair. So shall we cut your head off also? So the attachment to every inch of your territory and to protect it must be a part of your psyche. And that is why I'm saying Virat Hindustan includes the respect for everything. We are not there's another propaganda which has gone on for too long. That Hindu is a word because the Arabs couldn't pronounce Sindhu. So they said Hindu. They don't have sir, they have her. But it's not true. It's a sandhi of 2 words. It's there in the scriptures. I don't want to get into it here just now. He is Himalaya. Hindu is Hindu Sagar. From Himalayas to Hindu Sagar, that sandhi is called Hindu. Even today, China in its official publications, whatever they put out officially, government puts out, they call India as Hindu Go. Hindu, because they can't say, they don't have her, so they say Hindu. And Go is a Rashtra. So China refers to us as a Hindu Rashtra. That was our ancient name. So let it be very clear that when we say Virat Hindustan, that Hindustan, we also mean Akhand Hindustan. But today the circumstances are such that it's much more important for us to retain what we have. And those which we can get back, we should get back. We can't say, oh, the Chinese, okay, they're taking a little bit here, a little bit there. No. We have to fight the Chinese and snatch it from them. We have to fight the Pakistanis and snatch POK from them. That psychology should be there. It should be ready to make those sacrifices. We all make sacrifices. Some have chosen to be in the military, so they're willing to sacrifice their lives. Some of us have to suffer a lot of damages when the war takes place. We suffer, but we must achieve that goal. So our identity, we are one people. The British said we are Aryans and Dravidians. What nonsense? Where is the word Aryan? Arya is there. Arya means just a cultured person. Anybody is an Arya. But Aryan, there is no such word. Dravida is a word coined by Adi Shankara when he was asked, who are you? He said, where the three coasts meet, Travid, that is where I come. So from that he became Dravida. Dravida is not people who are part of the DMK. That's all British nonsense. Dravida is a Sanskrit word and means South India. So we are one people. How do I know? Because you go to Google and say, are Indians genetically one people? And they'll give you the research that is done. The research says that our DNA, which is the skin color, has got to do with the sun and all that. But the real thing is the DNA in your body. Our DNA from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, from Jamnagar to Dibrugarh, is one DNA. There is no difference between a Brahmin DNA and a scheduled caste DNA. There cannot be. It was never a birth-based concept. So we are one people. There is no Aryan Dravidian nonsense. Some Dravidians were there and the Aryans came and drove them down south. All bakwas, which the DMK, the British taught, and they go on repeating it. Therefore, we are one people. This is Virat Hindustan's second meaning. First meaning is, as I explained to you, that we are people who our identity is of the same. To this Akhand Hindustan, this is the second concept. So identity, we are clear, we are one people. Always been here. Others come, they want to mingle, no problem. But then over a period of time, they'll be genetic. Even Muslims today have the same DNA as Hindus. Why? Because the Bacha might have raped a woman and produced a child, but then afterwards the marriages and that take place, the DNA has become a Hindu DNA. Second is the correct history. It's a very long history. The British truncated it and said all this bakwas about Aryan, Dravidian, and that we are always being defeated. Never. 600 years the Islamic ruling was here. And in the end, we defeated them. Today, nobody knows who are the descendants of the Mughals. Can you tell me? You can't find them. But you know who the descendants of the Udaipur Raja were. Rana Pratap's descendants are still today in Udaipur. You can identify them. Jaipur, you can identify Marathas. So, we are a continuing civilization. And that is because we never gave up the fight. We defeated the Mughals finally in 1795 near Pune when Baji Rao II finished them off. And of course, before that, Aurangzeb had already died. He lost in battle and he died. So, that after that, is there any other example of such a country? No. Iran was a Zoroastrian country. 15 years, the Muslims conquered it, 100% Islam. Mesopotamia, and these small countries are today called Iraq, 17 years, 100% Muslim. Egypt, 21 years, 100% Muslim. Europe, 100% Christian in 50 years. But here, 600 years of Islamic rule, and 200 years of British rule, we are still 81%. So, therefore, remember that you are a continuing civilization. UNESCO admits that of the 46 civilizations that the world has seen, only one survives, and that is the Hindu civilization of India. So remember that the correct history is a people who never surrendered, who never gave up. They took time, but they ultimately were victorious. Third is learning of Sanskrit. Sanskrit words are there in every language. Even Tamil has 40% Sanskrit words. Fourth is Virat Hindustan means you must have an ideology called, which Deen Dayal Upadhyay had given the name of integral humanism, which means you don't go for material prosperity. Americans are all the time thinking about that, maximize my pleasure, maximize my profit, maximize my this, maximize my that. We are people who spiritual advance and material prosperity, they must both blend together. That's why we're a rich country, but we're spiritually also a great country. So this blending of spirituality and materialism is part of our Virat Hindustan. And finally, our governance system should be based on Ram Rajya governance. These are all big topics. But I'm saying that there's a lot of literature of the VHS, they're bound to give you. I've written a book also, Nationalism and Hindutva and National Renaissance, published by Haranand. They're given a long, elaborate explanation of this. You can read it. Or Hindus Under Siege. It's a much thinner book. So, therefore, today, you should be extremely proud that you as a Hindu survived. You as a Hindu had been the most developed countries for thousands of years, till you are bled by Islamic invasion and looted by the British colonialists. And now from poverty we are coming back, and if we follow correct policies, India can become the most prosperous country in the next 50 years. In the next 15 years, we can overtake China, which we lost during the last 15 years. And we can recover that and get ahead, and we can challenge America, because America is based on innovations, new inventions, and our chaps are equally good. They're doing it in America just now. They can do it in India. And we will become once again, the most developed country of the world. We have got that potential. And therefore, if you have this pride in yourself, you will make India once again a great world power. Thank you very much. I'm sorry I took so much time. That it is, there may be little time left for questions.
Thank you, Dr. Swamy, for a very enlightening session. We got few questions from our online viewers. The first question goes like this: regarding the history textbook changes recently government has announced. What are 5 main changes that you recommend, Dr. Swamy?
Well, first of all, the history books must reflect when our civilization can be traced to, because the dating system is all British. It's all nonsense. 2, the struggle between the Hindus of India and the Islamic invaders. There is no clear presentation. For example, one of the fiercest Islamic invasion was that of the caliphs. There was a sultan of theirs called Umar. He was a caliph himself. He went and conquered Europe. Then when he came back, he said, now we must go and conquer India. So he sent his most important lieutenant, commander-in-chief, with an army, and the Gujaratis, the Maharashtrians, and the Andhra pulled their army, went to Sindh and finished him. Finished that army. Omar was so heartbroken that that was the end of him. And the caliphate ended for so many centuries after that defeat. Is there any reference to it? No, no reference to it. So that such things were brought. Then we have to, nobody teaches you that Baji Rao of the Marathas defeated the Mughals and finished them off. But we were so exhausted, so the British came. We didn't have their modern weapons, and many of the modern weapons they took from India originally and done it. If you read any book on rockets, there's one book of 1, 2, 3 by some George Gamow book, where he says that rocketry was invented by the Hindus. It was used in the battles, and he's given the name of the battles. Can you believe that? Can you believe that the NASA Journal of Artificial Intelligence says that in the future, when computers start, collecting knowledge and then collating them, the only language fit for artificial intelligence is Sanskrit. It is there in Google. If you go to Google Sanskrit and artificial intelligence, you'll get it all. And many places now have started teaching Sanskrit. In India, we are hesitating. So what do I like us to do? What do you mean by history books? You get the dates right. When was the Aryan invasion? Never, because there was no Aryan invasion. So we got the chronology wrong. Alexander came to India, defeated India. Then in a nobility forgave Porus. There is no Porus. We don't have Porus because we have history records also. They are called the Puranas. It's all there. And the dating is given by star positions and planet positions. They are the most accurate. And so Mahabharat was 3102. The year 3102 BC. That's 5,000 years ago. Ramayana was 7,000 years ago. And you go to Vedas, my God, even after 20,000 years ago, you still are not able to say the Rig Veda was disclosed by God to our rishis in this period. So you get the dating right. Then all the loot, we think the British modernized us. What nonsense. They burnt all the Sanskrit books. They banned teaching of Sanskrit. They said as long as Sanskrit is taught, this country will never be able to be disintegrated or kept under our thumb. So Sanskrit was a target. And today the DMK targeting of Brahmins is only on that. Of course, who is a real Brahmin and all, that's another matter. But the fact is that they target because this is what the British taught them. And they are brainwashed by the British. So, therefore, history book rewriting is very extremely important because it must tell you. Look at the Battle of 1857. What an enormous All India battle was there. Look at the battle led by the Indian National Army of Subhash Chandra Bose. What's the truth about Subhash Chandra Bose? He's not even there in most of the books. What was his contribution? Because the Prime Minister of Britain who gave us who signed the freedom of India was Clement Attlee, not Churchill. Churchill had been defeated in the elections. So Attlee came, and he was the one who agreed to give up India. Why? Because they had internal reports that Subhash Chandra Bose is still alive and that the INA is started infecting the British Indian Army. And the British have always said, we are too small in number. There were 10,000, 20,000 Britishers, keeping crores and crores of Indians as slaves. So the British always said, the day the British Indian Army starts revolting, we have to leave. And when the INA after World War II returned, with songs and so on, and were all sent to jail in Red Fort. The Indian Army, British Indian Army, started revolting in various places, in Pune, in Jabalpur, in so many places. And then the British said, before this man comes back, of course, what happened is that Jawaharlal Nehru and Clement Attlee conspired with Stalin, because Subhash Chandra Bose, where could he go? He couldn't come to India. He was called a war criminal. He couldn't go to Japan because he had been defeated. He can't go to Germany. That was also finished. So the only hope was that Russia, the Soviet Union, would give him sanctuary. But Soviet Union made a deal. Stalin made a deal with Modi, with Jawaharlal Nehru, that you will remain with us throughout, and not with the United States of America. And he will bump him off. And they in Siberia killed him. That's my research. One day I'll bring it out. How Gandhi was killed. How many bullets were fired against Gandhi? Public prosecutor says 3. The reports of the New York Times and the Hindu, which were eyewitnesses, they said 4 bullets. And Godse himself says 2 bullets. In his statement, Godse says, I fired only 2 bullets. So how is it 3? Gandhi was not dead when he fell down. They picked him up and took him to this Birla house. They put him on the floor. He asked for a glass of water. They gave him a glass of water. 40 minutes he was alive. Why wasn't he taken to the hospital? Why was he taken to... These are big mysteries. And you say, what do you mean by rewriting history? It's not just glorifying Rana Pratap or Subhash Chandra Bose or etc. That's, of course, a small part. But these facts which have changed the course of our history, these have to be brought in. I'm not appreciative that the government has decided, because it was part of our manifesto in 2014, and for 7 years it was taboo to even talk about it. The education ministry, had no clue, and the bureaucrats were having fun. Even today in the NCERT, communists are still on the board to decide which text to be included or not. So we have to, these are all passing phases, but ultimately, if you're going to be a Hindutva party, we'll have to deal with this in a much more systematic way.
Thank you, Dr. Swamy. The other question is, should we continue calling India, Hindus as religion, or is a geo-civilizational identity?
Well, Hindu, as I told you, is Himalaya and Hindu Sagar Sandhi. It's a regional thing. It's a geographical thing. But in the Constitution, what does it say? Article 25. It says Hindu includes Buddhists, Sikhs, and Jains. So the word Hindu is all religions which are indigenous to India, Indic religions. So when I say Hindu, I can be a Buddhist also. I can be especially Mahayana Buddhism, and I can be a Jain. I can be a Sikh. Sikhs were born from Hindus in order to protect Hindus. So this is the. So I don't think these things are worth discussing. Look at the fundamental structure, Gita. That is Hinduism. And when you become more scholarly, you go to Upanishads. When you become even more scholarly, you go to Rig Veda. The core principles that your karma is going to decide your future. And if it cannot expend it in this life, you'll carry it over to your next life. Reincarnation. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Swamy. And this last question is, Your suggestion on ban on cow slaughter.
Yes. Yeah, see, the cow's milk is now, even in the West, is being sold in the supermarket at 3 times the price of the American cow milk. It's a special breed which is not available anywhere in the world. And this special breed's milk has medicinal qualities which no other cow's milk has. So why should we kill it? And the cow, in the process of giving the milk during its period, it also has shown that its cow dung can be converted into bricks. And there in Nagpur, there's a factory which they're doing that. I mean, people, think, oh, cow dung, cow dung. Nobody is asking you to eat cow dung. Cow dung is for building houses, and for villages, this is a very good way to build nice houses for them. So, therefore, cow has multiple uses. It is there in the Constitution. Article 48 says that there shall be a ban on cow slaughter. Who got it put in? Mahatma Gandhi. Who supported it? Ambedkar. So, therefore, who opposed it? Jawaharlal Nehru. But Rajendra Prasad was the president, and he ensured that the resolution is passed without debate. So, therefore, I would say let's not get into this Western concepts and become sort of a little shy to say cow is a divine animal and it is multivarious usefulness, and therefore we have to protect it.
Thank you, Dr. Swamy. Nikunji and Jagdish, any questions? Okay. Dhanyawad, Dr. Swamy.
Jagdish, you are on mute.
Sorry.
Dr.
Sorry,
Swamy
Jagdish.
Dr. Swamy has comprehensively covered all the aspects. You can go ahead, Gopi.
Dhanyawad, Dr. Swamy, for giving us, all of us, Amrut by churning the Amrut Manthan. It's really, real amazing. And thank you, Jagdishi. Thank you, Nikunji, for everything. And thank you for entire team for making this happen. Ashish Shetty, Tejas, Ishwar Iyer, Swami Layan, Gadigari Rakesh, and Ramesh ji. And last but not least, thank you all the viewers, and please stay safe, and Jai Sri Ram.
Jai Sri Ram. Okay.